Welcome back to the show, everybody. I'm your host, Dr. David Hooper, and this is another episode of the Unstoppable Introvert Project. And today is really, really special. Today's guest is Matt McCallum. Matt is a professional boxer, a former Northern Area champion. Matt is involved in multiple businesses. He is a landlord, property developer, a dedicated soldier in the Army Reserves as well. And the best part about all of this is Matt has been a close friend of mine for over 20 years. And I am so pumped to welcome Matt to the show. Matt, great to have you here, man.
Hey, mate, really good to see you. Really good to catch up. Yeah, 20 years, that makes us sound very old, though, doesn't it?
I know. I was trying to do the maths this afternoon as I was kind of getting prepared for this, and I had to do it 2 or 3 times. I was like,
Yeah,
20, were we really 13, 14 when we started to get to know each other at school and
yeah,
all that sort of thing? I
in high
can't
school,
believe how
crazy.
quick it's gone. But yeah, I'm so excited to have you here. And the first question I always ask everybody is all about being unstoppable and what that looks like to you. So yeah, Matt, what does being unstoppable look like or mean to you?
Um, that's a good question. I suppose unstoppable to me looks like me because I don't let anything stop me doing the things that I want to do, what I want to achieve, the things I set my mind on, the dreams, the goals. Um, like my professional boxing career, my businesses, climbing mountains, seeing friends, family, having a girlfriend. I have to fit all this in, and I do a pretty good job of making that all happen. So to me, I suppose that is unstoppable. Living your life the way you want to live it. Obviously not recklessly. Having, you know, thinking about everyone, like all your friends, family, thinking about people's feelings, but just doing everything, the right way, but your way, if that makes sense.
It definitely makes sense. It definitely makes sense, and it's a powerful statement to kick us off with. And for those people who are getting their first taste of Matt on this episode, how do you tend to introduce yourself to those new people, kind of who you are and what you do?
I suppose, yeah, I am Matt McCallum, the professional boxer. I've I've been pro now, not a great deal of time, but coming up 4 years, and like within those 4 years, I've hit some big highs, and like went further than anyone ever expected. Especially turning to boxing quite late in life, turned professional at 29. Um, you were there, do you remember? Obviously when you had the gym, when you had your gym, I was sort of just before my debut, I was training with you and we were talking about it and stuff. So a lot has happened in that time, and I've met a lot of very famous people through boxing. Trained with some of the best in Britain, best in the world, and yeah, it became way more than a hobby a long time ago. But obviously, I always have to remember that the reason I am here is because I've got my business, I've got my business partner, my family who've helped me, my dad, and I wouldn't be in this position without them as well. So I'm very grateful. I'm very lucky, and yeah, just very happy at the moment, and long may it continue.
No, absolutely. And I'm so excited to dive into that boxing career and that process that you went through to get to where you are now. But before we do that, if we back this up a bit, when it comes to, leaving school and going to start your own business and those sorts of things, What was that decision for you when you did start to create your own business? What was that process like?
Well, I'll be honest. Leaving school, I didn't have a clue what I wanted to do in school. I started working in the family business, working for my dad, working for my cousin, um, and I had lots of ideas. Should I join the forces? The Royal Air Force, um, the army. Try to get offshore, oil and gas. But at this, there was a lot of pipe dreams at that time, but nothing. I didn't make anything happen, I just said I was going to do something. It didn't happen. I would go out on the weekends. I would drink. I would, buy some daft cars. Just when I look back, it was what I suppose a lot of kids done at that time, in your late teens, your 20s. But now I look back and I think, well, it was just wasted time, completely wasted time. And I suppose it started to change when I started to take boxing a bit more seriously. Way before I turned professional, my old coach in Mortworth, James Watland, shout out, he said, do you want to have a fight? And I said, yeah, I'll have a fight. And we organised a date and I trained really hard. Quit the drink. It was the first time I'd quit the drink. This is when I was, again, this is in my mid-20s. Um, I was sort of 25, 26, which again is classed as kind of late to get into boxing, especially if you want to go somewhere, if you've got any ambition. So, we had 8 weeks or 10 weeks before the fight, so a 10-week camp, and I trained every day. I quit the drink, and that was a big thing because since I'd started drinking, I'd never had a week off the drink. I'd been drinking, certainly wasn't an alcoholic or anything, but I'd been drinking every weekend like
Yeah.
everyone in my sort of social circle was doing. So to do that, I thought, I've actually done something. Before I've even had the fight, I've achieved something. I've stopped drinking for 6 or 8 weeks, however long it was. Went into the fight, won the fight, was brilliant. And every single fight and every fight camp since then was exactly the same.
That's a really good time for me to ask a follow up. Tell us about that first fight. So
Uh,
before professional, you're just some kid who's got into boxing, and you're in the ring or preparing to get in the ring. That must have been terrifying. Or what was it
it
like?
was. No, it was. It was. That word's perfect to sum it up because um, I always say to people, it comes in waves. The emotions come in waves. And I always remember the whole process. Obviously the 8 weeks training, feeling like a new man because again, I hadn't been drinking, I hadn't been, eating crap food. I'd been tidying everything up. Would made a weight. I think it was like 82 kilograms or something like that. So then, obviously, fight day comes and it's all a total new experience. We have the weigh-in the day before because it was unlicensed boxing, and then we go to the venue, and then we left the venue on fight night. We went to get some food. We went to Asda. Me and my coaches had a little nibble. Couldn't really eat much because I was nervous. It's the unknown, I didn't know what was going to be. I just didn't know. It's like I know what I want to happen. I want to get this win and I can visualize this win. And I've always been good at visualizing things, Me in the ring, beating this guy, hand raised at the end. But it's still very uncertain. It's very unknown because what if that doesn't happen? What if he beats me? So yeah, then obviously we went to the venue. We get in the changing rooms. We get get dressed. I get into my boxing shorts. Start hitting the pads. I see this guy who I'm fighting, and he's kind of staring me out a bit from across the way because I can see his dressing room, and I'm staring back, and I'm putting on this. It's not a front, It's like I'm so confident, I've always believed in my own ability from that first ever fight. But again, you don't exactly know what's going to happen. It's a fight. So we get into the ring. Just before getting into the ring, it's like it's that fight or flight. You have these thoughts of, should I just run out this building? Should I just run out this building? Go home, on off any social media, block everyone's number. But thankfully, they're just less than a minute, these thoughts, and it's like, no, you're here now. You are pushing through with this. You are going to do this. You're going to get in that ring, no matter what. You're going to fight. You're going to give it absolutely everything. And then at the end of it, no matter what happens, you will be proud of what you've done. So we got in. We had the fight. Second round, I knocked this guy out. Boom, there we are. My first fight, and honestly, it was absolutely amazing. Like that feeling of winning. I still don't feel like I've ever actually replicated that, which is very interesting. Even on maybe it's when I won my Northern Area title. I mean, that comes very, very close. That was unbelievable. But that first ever, that feeling of winning, because it's such an I don't know. It's just so. What's the word I'm looking for? We've been doing this since the dawn of time, essentially. Man has had to fight to survive, and that fight or flight is what has brought human beings to where we are now. To experience that full on. Like me and one man across from me, and he seriously wants to hurt me, and I seriously want to hurt him, and then to get that victory, it's like, wow, interesting.
Absolutely. And yeah, let's dig into your boxing journey. But before that, I guess my question would be, for those people who are listening and have their own version of that, it may not be a fight, but it might be, doing a big presentation or doing like a job application or starting a business or, whatever gives them fear. It's something they know they want to do, but it's terrifying at the same time. What would you say to those people to get them, to actually go and do the thing, whatever it is?
Well, I'll tell you what I would say. I have this conversation with my brother-in-law often because he's great at speaking to like a crowd of people. He has to do that with his work, and I always say to him, I say, Graham, I would be terrified doing that. And he's like, really? I says, I honestly would. Standing up in front of a huge group of people, I know I would be able to do it. I would be able to train my brain to do it, but that's alien to me, which is very interesting. I'd say I'd rather get in the ring and fight someone any day of the week over that. But yeah, we all feel these emotions, don't we? We all feel fear. One thing I've learned to do is harness fear, and use fear as my friend. I always say fear is my friend. Whether that's fighting in a ring or whether that's someone else who is speaking in front of people, needs to stand up and do a press conference or whatever. You've got to try and harness those emotions and control them. What I always try to do, it's probably different if you're public speaking or something, but I like to take fear and project it onto my opponent, and I want him to be able to see, from my body language and my eyes, that this guy isn't scared. This guy isn't scared, and that's making me scared.
Absolutely. It's such a powerful image of you doing that. And it's something that I'm sure so many people can take and learn from and apply. So we've had that first fight, Matt, and it's gone well. Couldn't have gone better, really. What's next? What was the next step after that first unlicensed fight? What was the next step?
So I sort of took every fight, fight by fight. I didn't have any real dreams or big aspirations in boxing, so I'm just going to keep these fights up. But I did. I kept them up regular, and we kept getting better opponents, bigger shows. Won a couple of unlicensed titles. And then we got to sort of the big one, and there was this guy in Newcastle who was meant to be the best kid at my weight, I was meant to be the best kid, so it was like, right, let's get this fight on. We had it on a big show at the Fed Brewery. His belts, my belts, two champions. Um, and there was talk of him turning professional after he beat me, you know. They were totally overlooking me because I had a spy in their camp as well. One of my good friends, James, he was sort of, he was like, "Oh, I've been down there," and he was like, they're kind of overlooking you a bit. Like, I was like, "Great, that's fuel to the fire. I love that." Anyway, we had the fight, and I knocked him out in the second round as well. Out cold, this guy. And I was like, right, if he was meant to be turning professional, well, I've got to give it a go. I have to give this a go because, like, I feel like I've trained um, in boxing, which has only been a short space of time. I had the first unlicensed fight in 2016. This was 2019, I think. Yeah, so it's like less than, I think it was like 2.5 years.
Right.
When you look at it on the calendar. So, and I was only getting older. I wasn't getting any younger. So I thought, listen, I'm going to give this a go. Um, so then, yeah, just found the right gym for me and the right coach. Approached him. I says, look, I want to turn professional. Will you put your trust in us? To turn up every day and be as professional as I can and give you absolutely everything. And he did, and that's exactly what I've done. And I had my debut, our pro debut was it was February 29th or 28th, 2020. Won my pro debut, it was brilliant, and then we went into lockdown for 18 months. Yeah, so it was a
Oh,
nightmare.
yeah, I remember watching that fight, and it was amazing. And then you're right, it life happened, and the world shut down. But if we back up a second, at what point did you think, you know what, there might be something here? Like, at what point did that ambition come, and you're like, you know what, I can commit to this. I can be professional. I can do
Mm-hmm.
everything that's needed to thrive as a professional. What moment did that happen?
That's a good question. It was, that before that last unlicensed fight, certain people had said you should turn pro, you'd be suited to the pro game. I didn't know what that meant at the time. Now I understand what that means. Because I'm at
What
a
does
boxing
what does that
prof-
mean?
so amateur boxing and professional boxing are very, very different. Amateur boxing, and I'm going to confuse you more here because I've had no amateur fights. I've come from the unlicensed boxing scene, which is a quite relatively new thing. It gets a lot of bad press, um, but you still get a lot of good kids in the unlicensed scene. But you do get some right duck eggs, and there's no rules and regulations really.
Mm,
With amateur boxing, you have to have a medical card. You box for an affiliated amateur boxing gym.
right.
And if you win the ABAs, win a national title, there'll be you'll be looking to box for England. You get on the England squad, and then you box for Team GB. You go to the Olympics. That's the absolute epitome of amateur boxing. If you could win a gold medal, and then turn pro, and all of the top professional promoters and managers will be looking to sign you. Which is exactly what's happened down at Birtley Boxing Gym, which is one of the best. It was, sorry, one of the best gyms in the country. With some of the best talent, and all those kids are growing on now. To fight on the big shows on TV, and rightly so. They've had fantastic amateur careers. I didn't have that. I had no amateur boxing career. So I knew I was starting professionally right at the bottom, which is fine. And I've had to really claw my way to the top, which I totally understood from the start. But yeah, so I'm at a boxing, 3 2-minute rounds or 3 3-minute rounds, and it's just like straight off the blocks, absolute sprint. Trying to score as many shots as possible with a lot of skill. You know what I mean? But you don't ever really go that sort of distance. Whereas professional boxing, you start at 4 threes or something 6 threes.
Wow.
A lot of people start at 6 threes, and then you're going all the way up to 10 threes, 12 threes. So it's a hell of a lot longer. You've got to be a total different animal, and it's a lot. It can be slower pace because you have to have your engine for a lot longer time. Like myself now, I'm a seasoned 10-round fighter. In 10 professional fights, I've had 5 10-round fights. 2 of them, or 3 of them, championship fights.
Wow.
2 Northern Area title fights and a English title eliminator. My next fight's going to be a Commonwealth title eliminator. So again, it's another championship level fight. But you get some guys who, they have 14, 15 fights and they've only went into 6 rounds a couple of times. And I'm like, what are you doing? What are you waiting for? I always said to myself, I turned professional with the ambition of getting somewhere, getting to the top quick, then if I wasn't good enough, great. I would have just held my hands up and says, I tried everything. But I've obviously, I've got something about us. And then on the unlicensed scene, I suppose, where was that? Maybe it's when people started saying, why don't you give the pro game a go? Why don't you turn professional? And that's when that little sort of spark, that little idea of maybe, what if I'm good enough, for this? And then obviously, when after that final unlicensed fight, that's when we went for it, and the rest is history. We've had a lot of ups, we've had some downs. I've had my defeats, but I'm still learning on the job. I was learning in those defeats, and it's all about having the resilience and correct mindset to power on, and put those mistakes right.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, yeah, it's so inspiring what you're doing, Matt. And something that jumped out to me there was your ability to go all in and to trust yourself and to go for it. And something I think a lot of people struggle with is that ability to go all in. So
Mm-hmm.
they might stay in the safe job. They may stay in the safe
Mm-hmm.
relationship, even though that it's not a good one. How have you been able to develop that mindset of backing yourself? And similar with that, like the rounds example, going all in, doing it properly, doing it thoroughly, backing yourself and going all in. How do you do that?
Well, again, it's taken time. As I've said, teens, early 20s, mid 20s, there was just, I wasn't really doing anything, you know, and there was a lot of vanity and arrogance there. Maybe at times thought I was this, thought I was that, and looking back, and I just think, what an idiot! I was just a fool, who didn't know anything. And even now, I'm still learning every single day. Every day is a school day. Um, but yeah, it's an interesting one, I suppose when I turned professional up and I said to myself, I'm going to give this absolutely everything, and I started to then train with people who were a lot, that had a very similar mindset, and I always take, little pointers away of like, right, what's this guy doing? How's he living his life? What's he eating? Has he got a nutritionist? Has he got this? Has he got that? Try and take as much information away as possible. And also, I look at other people's mistakes. Some of the older retired guys, they would tell me stuff, and I would look at how their life's planned out, and I would think, well, that's brilliant in a lot of areas, but I don't want to make those same mistakes, and I still, I always adhere to that now. It's been a long process, I suppose. I've done I've achieved a lot in a short space of time, but it's taken me to my late 20s and 30s to get like this, if that makes sense.
It does. It does make sense, and I think it's something that a lot of people can learn from you doing that.
Mm-hmm.
It is funny. I I think it's funny hearing about, like the footballers when they're retiring in their early 30s, and you think, God, early 30s is, you're
Mm,
still a baby, really. And I think
completely.
that, with this pressure on everybody to have their life fully sorted by the time they're 30, like the job they want or the business they want, making six figures with married and a house and babies and the car they want and all this sort of stuff. So, to be able to do this at, at your old
There's,
age of 29.
there's too much pressure, isn't there? You know,
Exactly.
far too much pressure, and you have to be able to handle that pressure, or you have to say that I'm not bothered about that. That stuff, what's expected, from society, like you say, oh, you should be settled, you should have a kid, you should get the marriage, you should do all this. I suppose I've kind of always been one to go against the grain, and with that, like I'm really not bothered about what's expected, what people think, um, what I should be doing, because I suppose I've never really been that bothered about doing that. Now I have some real focus and goals and ambitions, and nothing is going to get in the way of that. Especially not, what's expected of us, because we're all different. We're all completely different, and we all live different lives, and people should just be happy for one another. And if someone needs help, a lot of people do need help. Reach out that arm and try and help your fellow neighbor, or your family member or whatever.
So going back into your boxing journey then, what was it like to kind of lose in the ring for the first time? What was that like? Because from your journey, it was like success, success, success. That what yeah, what was that like?
It was hard. It was hard, but I certainly that first loss, I knew the level, the step up I was making. But it was actually really frustrating, that first loss, because I was winning the fight. I was winning the fight by 3 rounds. And I got complacent. I was boxing with my hands down. I wasn't listening to my coach, and my coach was saying, "Get your hands up and stay away from your boxing really well." But I was kind of thrown off a bit by him, um, because he he seemed, when we came together, he seemed quite. I could shove him about a bit. I thought he's not as strong as he seems, but then he just had dynamite in his hands. He was maybe luring me into a false sense of security. Smart boxer. Um, so then, yeah, I lost, and I had Christmas, and I was, at that time, I was going through a little bit of a, you know, sort of, it was probably the start of the breakdown of my relationship at the time. So there was, I don't know, there was a few sort of things that were just making us up and down. But then moved on. It was, basically, I had 3 losses in a row. Second one was my non-era title defense, and you know, credit to the guy who won. I was, from that fight, I was like, listen, he won. He was a better man on the night, in the ring. But I know I'm so much better, and I know I've got everything to beat this guy. I just switched off. I just switched off for a split second, got complacent, got caught, got wobbled, and the ref called the fight off. And then from that, I had another fight down in Essex. I don't know if you watched that one, mate, against the blue-eyed boy, the Team GB kid, the kid he's boxed everyone in the world, all over the world. This is a middleweight and new weight, so I was actually dropping weight for that. And he was completely overlooking me. He was making his mouth go in the press conferences, and everyone was like, Matt, I can't see you beating this guy. I can't see you beating this guy. And it was, honestly, it was the best fight I've ever been. It was the best performance of my life. And then he knocked him out in the first round. Credit to him, he surely had a good chin. And then he knocked him out in the ninth round, and he came out again, survived in the ninth, came out in the 10th, had a great round. And it was so close, but I honestly thought I had enough. I'd done enough to win that fight. I still think I won that fight. He knows I won that fight. You seen my team and me celebrating at the end. He was down like this, but they give it to him. It's boxing.
Yeah.
It can be very controversial at times. But then that give me that lease of life to keep going, saying, Matt, you are good enough. You've made some mistakes. You've been done there. And it's not you've done everything to win, and we firmly believe we won. So got to keep going, But I kind of knew that last fight, my fight at Christmas, and again, I'm only boxing the best kids in Britain. I'm up at that level now. This guy was ranked 14th in Britain. He'd only ever been stopped by Callum Smith, who's a former world champion. And I got in there and I beat him. I won 8 rounds. The ref gave 1 round a draw and 1 round to him. I beat him convincingly. Back on track, So, it's, certainly after that, the loss in the summer, my Northern Area title defence, that was a real hard one. That was a real hard one. But I knew I only got 6 weeks till the next fight. I'm making it a different weight. I just had to keep going, keep that positive mindset, I'll never forget, I boxed on the, when was it? I boxed on the Friday. No, sorry, it was a bank holiday weekend. I boxed on the Saturday. And then on the Sunday, went out in Morpeth with a couple of old mates who you'll know, Tom Russell and Rowan Swales, two of my best pals, And I was just devastated, I was absolutely gutted. But at the same time, I was just thinking, how do I put this right? How do I put this right? Get the rematch on, get this next fight won, get this, I just had this bulletproof mindset. I really did. Yes, I was hurting bad. But something else that's really helped me, in the morning of that loss, I went for a run with my dog. And then on the way home, it was a nice sunny morning. I made a video. I made a video to put on my Instagram story just to congratulate my opponent. I said I just want to congratulate him on becoming the Northern Area champion. He was the better man last night, better man in the ring, and I hope he enjoys that victory. And hold my hands up, thank my friends, my family, everyone who came to support me. And just I made a mistake, and I lost the fight. No excuses. And that's one thing I stand by. Never make an excuse. Never make them, whether you're boxing, whether it's work, just in life. We don't need excuses, because you're just lying to yourself. You're just kidding yourself, filling yourself with, with false hope, false intentions. If you make a mistake, own up to it, own it, and then, you walk away feeling much better. I felt fantastic. I didn't feel fantastic, sorry, I was still hurting, but I felt better. And the pain eased a lot quicker. And that was probably because I held my hands up and said, I came up second best, but what's next?
I think that's such a great mindset to have and to be able to get into. And I think a lot of people listening have that problem where if they have a setback, it completely derails them for days, weeks, months, possibly forever. And they aren't ever able to recover like you were talking about. And from my perspective, kind of getting defeated in the ring, picking yourself back up and moving forward again like you have, and going back in there and doing what you do is, a brilliant representation, like a visual representation almost of what that looks like, an actual process. So what would your message be to those people who maybe have had a setback and are maybe in that place you were before you made that video, like, I just, I'm hurting, I'm not sure, how to fix it or to progress. What would your message be to those people?
I would say you can't let that mistake or that setback, whatever it is, you can't let that define you. you know? Because if you just quit, whatever it is you're doing, if you just quit, then it is defining you, isn't it? That's it. That was where I came to the end of the road. I couldn't do it anymore. And that was the end of that stage of my life, or that was the end of that, you know, dream job interview, whatever it may be. You just can't let that happen. You have to, you have to tell yourself, we all make mistakes, we all have losses, whatever that may be, but it's not final, we have to keep moving on, keep striving for success. That's how winning is done, isn't it? So just keep going no matter what, keep the faith, keep the dream alive.
So good, mate. So good. And I'm pumped, ready to hit a workout. After speaking to you, honestly, it's so good.
Should we do a workout?
So good. Yeah, man. It's genuinely like it's really great advice. And keeping on with kind of your boxing, what does health and fitness mean to you within all of this? Like, we've talked about like being unstoppable and having a strong mindset. I know obviously as a professional boxer, the exercise and diet, nutrition is important. But yeah, what does health and fitness mean to you, in terms of you functioning at the levels you need to?
It's absolutely crucial. It really is. It's crucial, obviously, to get the absolute best out of my boxing career. I've got a nutritionist, shout out Jack Cook, who's becoming a good friend, but he keeps me in check much every day with my nutrition plan. Making sure I'm not going off plan, making sure I'm eating the right stuff, the stuff that he set out, the right amount of calories, the right amount of protein. So that is absolutely essential for boxing, but just in life in general, health and fitness, it's what, you live a good, healthy lifestyle and you get that heart rate up. That's what's gonna keep us alive, it's what's gonna keep us alive long. And you see so many people just abusing that, I suppose, and whether that's education or whether they're just not bothered, whether they just give up on stuff. It's sad to see, and from elite athletes just down to someone wanting to keep the weight off in the gym. Um, I like to try and say to people, like try and tidy the diet up a bit, try and maybe drink less crap, fizzy pop, drink more water. Water is a big one, isn't it? I'm always saying to my mum, I'm like, how much water you drink a day? She's like, oh, I've got her one of those 2 liter,
Uh,
the 2 liter refillable bottles, and I'll come in some days and there's about that much gone. I'm like, I haven't really done well with your water. And she's like, oh, I'm trying. I'm like, you got to try better. Come on, mother. It's like 2 liters. You should be able to get through 2 liters. Everyone should. You just end up going to the toilet all the time, don't you? I certainly do. I'm drinking 4 or 5 liters a day. I'm just constantly peeing. But yeah, yeah, health, health and fitness it's massive to me. It's interesting, but because like my life has changed so much in a very short space of time, as I keep saying, and I'm absolutely obsessed now with training every single day, what I put into my body. Um, I'm always trying to research as much as I can, what's good for us, what's not. A lot of the time, you end up in a bit of a kerfuffle, because you're like, God, this is endless. It's endless. Like you hear one thing's good for you, and then you're like, actually, oh, that might not be that good for you, and you're like, you've got to, where do you stop, I filter my water now. I always use a Brita filter. I try not to drink tap water. But then it's like, it's tap water, hope it's not going to kill us, but I just try to get the absolute maximum out of everything I can, So food, the fluids going into my body, and then obviously my training, you know.
Definitely. And you are in some shape at the moment, by the way. I very, very jealous of those yeah, the shape you're in, mate.
Well,
It's
well,
aspirational. Honestly, it's so you
thank you very much, but I really appreciate that. And like, you know, as I've said, it's taken a while to get here, you know, and lots of even with in my boxing career, finding out what works best for my body, you know. Last year I had a load of tests done at Newcastle Uni, and they were tests to work out how fit I am, you know, my body mass index, you know, VO2 max. Basically worked out I'm a fat burning machine. Other people need more carbohydrates as fuel. All stuff that I would never have thought of any of this. I didn't know this. I didn't have a clue about this stuff a few years ago. Now we can all use this data to work out what's the best type of food for me to eat and when to eat. It's a real science, you know. Food timing of meals is crucial. What is interesting, I haven't mentioned yet, though, I'm what's the time? I'm just about to come into 48 hours of a fast. Um, so my last meal was 7 p.m. on Sunday,
wow.
and yeah, so yeah, I'm looking forward to some nice food tonight. That's been an interesting one. Recently, I've done a 72-hour fast, and then I've done a 100-hour fast. Couple of reasons why I done that. The first reason was to try and lose some weight relatively quickly. You know, you tap into your body starts running off ketosis, so you start burning fat, which is great. Tapping into those, you know, fat around your sides. If you've got a fatty liver, which I'm sure me and you don't because of our age, you know. But if you do, it's a great way to strip fat from your liver because that's not good, you know. Um, but but yeah, and another reason why I do it is because of the mental side of it, you know. Certainly with the 72 hours and the 100 hours, I just picked 100 after. I thought, well, that's a good round number, isn't it? And it was hard, you know, the resilience to push through that. You know, 4 days of not eating when you've ate every single day for your whole life, you know. Um, it was it was hard, but it was very rewarding.
Yeah, that sounds so rewarding. The fasting, so interesting. Firstly, yeah, well, you kind of told us about the why, but what did that actually look like on a day-to-day basis then? Was there anything you needed to do to prepare to fast? Or is it as easy as just stopping eating and off you go?
There is certain foods that you can eat. You know, you're preparing your body to use up all your glycogen stores, which you get from carbohydrates, and then run off basically your fat stores. So again, you know, like there's so many different experts telling you different things, which is, you know, it can be hard, you know. So it's like, well, who do you listen to? But I was listening to this one doctor on Sunday evening, and he was saying, really, because you're going to start burning fat, you should be having meals with good fats, you know. Um, so like eggs and you know, fatty fish, cheese, in preparation for your fast. Certainly, like refined sugars, saturated fats, you know, aren't really good. You know, sugary carbs, yeah, it's just going to spike your insulin levels, and you know, you're probably going to go to bed not feeling that good. You know, certainly I know now when I eat loads of sugar, like and I'm not going to do this when I have my next fight, by the way. I promise my nutritionist I won't. But yeah, a lot of the time when I've had a fight, I thought, right, wheels are off. Let's pig out, and I'll eat just crap. And I don't know why, because I feel terrible. I feel amazing now. You know, with the food I'm eating, even though I haven't eaten for 2 years, but I do. I feel fantastic with the food I'm eating, and I'd say, why would I ever go back to the crap that I've, you know, I'm talking like sweets, chocolate, sugary, ice cream. Just I'll literally get to bed and my heart will be racing because I'm not used to having that amount of those sugar spikes, And you just think, why? I describe it as self-harming.
Yeah.
And one of my other pals laughed at us when I was saying this to him. I was saying to him, I was like, mate, you don't actually understand what I'm talking about though, because you've never done that. You never put your body through that process and then just completely reverse that process in a very short space of time. It is like self-harm because you put on weight straight away and then you feel absolutely terrible. And then because you feel terrible, you think, well, I'm just going to keep eating the same stuff. And you have to pull yourself out of that vicious circle. Otherwise it could spiral really quite dramatically. But yeah, it's an interesting one.
And are you able to function like you would on a normal day if you're doing like a 100-hour fast or a 48-hour fast, or do you have to modify what you're doing?
So a normal day to me is like training
Mm.
every day, twice a day. So not really. Certainly the first day of the fast, um, your body's still full of glycogen stored from the carbohydrates you've had the night before and the week before. So I always find it really easy to train that day. I've got
Mm.
loads of energy, but then the next day you got to be careful because you will be running off empty, and you couldn't keep training at that such like high pace using getting your heart rate up so high. So each day is certainly different. On the 100 hour fast, um, the 72 hour was the most enjoyable so far because the second day I trained the first day as like I just said, and the second day I went for a run. No, sorry. The second day I was in the gym hitting pads with my coach, and I felt good. I felt good that evening. Um, Felt sharp, felt fast, but then as towards the end, energy wise, I started to drop off a little bit. And then the third day I went for a 5K. Didn't feel good running at all, but when I came home, I felt amazing mentally. I was like, wow, I feel reborn here.
Wow.
And then went for a sauna. Had my sauna, and I was just thinking, I feel absolutely fantastic. I feel like I could go on. Um, but
Yeah.
I needed to eat that evening because I was in with my conditioning coach the next day, and I needed fuel. Um, but that was a really interesting one. The 100 hour was a bit different. I don't know if it's because I'd already done one recently, um, or there was other reasons why that I'm unsure of, but that was just a bit harder. And then when I finally broke fast on the 100 hour mark, um, I kind of my belly wasn't great for a couple of days, um, and I thought, well, what was all that about? It was a strange. Maybe it's the lack of fibre, possibly. But it was a bit of a different experience. This time, the 48 hours, I definitely think that is the optimum amount of time um, to fast if you still want to train like I do, and obviously lose a bit of weight. I definitely think that's the right amount of time. You don't need to go any further than that. In terms of other people, if they just wanted to fast though to burn some fat, I think you can. You can still function. You can still go to work. You can still do anything. But you have to prepare yourself mentally, and it's interesting because the biggest response I've had from people when I say, "Oh, I haven't ate for a couple of days. I haven't ate for this amount of time," people just go, "I couldn't do that." Instantly, "I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that." And straight away, I'm like, "Well, of course you couldn't with that mentality, that mindset. You've instantly just defeated yourself. That's the first thing that's came out of your mouth. It's just, negative mindset, pessimistic straight away. Of course, you're never going to be able to do anything with that mentality. But if you said, okay, this is going to be hard. I know it'll be hard. It's totally new. It's unknown to me, but I think I'll be able to get through it. You're going to feel so much better instantly, aren't you? You're going to attack that challenge with a completely, different mindset from a different angle. But unfortunately, that's how a lot of people see a lot of things. A lot of challenges, a lot of tasks. Certainly, what I would say, sorry, but what I would say before, I would never encourage anyone to just dive in at 48 hours, 72 hours, even 24 hours. There's a lot of good research with intermittent fasting. Do 16 hours, 18 hours, build it up that way. And the first time I done 24-hour fast, I couldn't, I was like, I'm here for 24 hours. I'm dying, I knew I wasn't, but I was like, God, am I going to be all right? Of course, I was all right. I was absolutely fine. But yeah, you've got to build yourself up for these things, I believe.
Yeah, I think you're hitting the nail on the head with so many of these comments. I think a combination of the training, sticking on track with a diet, things like cold therapy or fasting, all prepare the mind for those challenges to keep on going. That aren't necessarily physical. I mean, I'm a big believer of the mind. If you get your mind right, you can achieve anything. Basically, your body's like your vessel, and it'll do the
Completely.
things you want it to do. So, I think that's so valuable. And when you were doing your fast, were there moments where you were tempted to cheat on it, or were you locked in for the whole time?
There was moments where, I suppose, right, am I going to drop this in? If we went a bit too far, is it getting a bit silly? Yeah, and there's always those thoughts that pop in. Again, I describe it, I suppose, as the fight or flight. Um, the flight would be just chuck the towel in now. Let's just eat something. But I love challenging myself, and I said no, I'm going to get through with this. And I'm really good at when I put my mind put my mind forward to do something. I'm going to carry that task out. I've committed to it. I'm going to do it. There's nothing going to stop me, and like I'm at the point now where, I'll be fasting and I'll even deliberately go, into a supermarket and just look at the food in the aisles. I'll go into someone's house and they'll be cooking, and it's funny because people are always apologetic. Like my girlfriend, she sent me we're always sending each other food, like reels on Instagram. And she sent me something last night, and I replied, and I was like, "Oh, it's amazing." When we go in there, and she was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to send you that. Oh, yet you're fasting." I was like, "No, no." I was like, "It's fine. It's not your fault. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. I'm choosing to do this. I'm putting myself in this position, choosing this path of hardship. You don't have anything to apologize for, and like no one does, but like it's me. It's all on my tours. It's out with my boxing career. I'm pushing myself. I'm putting myself in these positions. Taking these injuries that I take, starving myself essentially at times. I choose this path. No one's putting a gun to my head and forcing me. So it's all on me.
Yeah, completely. I think so powerful, and yeah, I can imagine you just wandering around Morrison's, just sniffing stuff and having.
The worst is the hot chicken counter, the hot food
Oh
counter,
yeah,
which is made in
yeah.
chicken. I'm obsessed with that place.
Oh
I'll
yeah.
always go in and I'll get like 5 chicken wings. I always say to them, "Hey, just sneak a couple extra in, please." And sometimes they do, other people do. "Oh, I can't do that." I'm like, "All right, no bother." But yeah, that's the hardest one when you get that smell of it. But thankfully, I can actually eat tonight. You
I
know.
love it. Love it.
Another thing, Davey, is drinking. I very rarely drink now, But I had a cracking Christmas. I had my last fight, and then I had Christmas off. Enjoyed going out, socializing with friends, family. Went to Thailand. Was obviously socializing, drinking over there. But then when I came back, I said to myself, I says, right, I'm getting back in the fight camp.
Mm.
I'm gonna have a year off the drink.
Wow.
And I know we're about to take into April, but I have no desire whatsoever, even just to have a sip or one drink. People say to me, "Why don't you just have one?" But I'm gonna I'm gonna take this as far as I can, And when I commit to something, when I set my mind to it, I will do it. I've got a couple of stag do's this year. We're going abroad, but I feel so happy, you know, with the life that I live, feeling the way I feel. Like I don't feel like I need to change my reality with alcohol. I really don't. Alcohol, the feeling of being drunk has changed now with me, and I don't enjoy it anymore. I don't enjoy not being in control of myself. I used to love that, not now. Um, I hate that. I don't. The the lack of control and not being able to, trust myself essentially. That's a big no-no for me. And I want to get to the end of this year and just, and I can say to people, I've just done a year off the drink, and I've chose to do that. If you want to, commit to something and do it, you can. It is within our power, within our mindset. Anyone can do that.
Definitely can. Definitely. I think it's so inspirational again. Like these things that you're doing or the difference between, you know, an elite performer being able to lock into to a goal and be tunnel vision on it and achieve it. And you're right, a lot of these things are people reply so quick with, "Oh no, I couldn't do that. I couldn't do this," and it's frustrating actually to hear when that happens. But when you do get into um, like the off being off the drink or off takeaways or bad diet, you get used to it and your body actually responds to you being better because the drink's poison really, so it's
Poison.
your body
Disgusting, isn't it?
appreciates it.
It is. It's crazy, isn't it? Though, like, it's the only drug that you get questioned on. Like, if you're not drinking, if you're not partaking, you're not drinking. What? Well, why? And I love that. I love being in those situations. I'll happily go out. When you're on a night out, and I'll have a Coke Zero, a couple of Coke Zeros, and people have stopped asking us now because they're just like, oh well, we're now what he's like. He kind of thrives actually. If you question him on it, he thrives off it.
Mm.
Um, but like to me, I see it as a bit of a weakness. Like people just follow the crowd completely, and they just again, it's the expected done thing. Whereas going out and not drinking and telling people, well, actually, I'm going to wake up at 5, 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. I'm going to be in the gym. I'm going to go for a run. That's totally abnormal to people. But that's what makes me tick. Um, it's just such a bizarre thing, alcohol. It really is. How that is legal, it's just beyond me.
Yeah, I love that. I love what you were saying there around doing the things 95% of people aren't willing to do
Mm,
to and then that will mean you achieve what 95% of people won't ever achieve. And
exactly.
that's just fact. Those
It
things. Go on, Matt. Go on.
it's like this lifestyle I live. If if it was easy, everyone would do it.
Exactly.
Pe- People like to do the easiest thing. The majority, not everyone, but the majority of people they just want an easy life. They want to be told what to do. Um, they want to follow the crowd. They want to, drink whatever people are drinking. Go to the same places, and I just think, that's not me. That is not me at all. The amount of this is another thing. If you could try and explain this to people, get people to believe this, like the amount of joy and release I get, the endorphin release I get from training, from being in the gym,
Yeah.
from then having such a good workout and then walking out the gym, feeling like like high essentially,
Mm.
high on life, from like a natural chemical release in my brain. When you compare that, this is another reason why I've just totally went off alcohol is because like I can now beat that naturally by training, and socializing and with my mates in the gym on the same wavelength. Um, coming out the gym after training and having going for a sauna, getting an ice bath. That's another release of unbelievable chemicals in your brain. These endorphins, and then maybe it's getting some nice clean food after, some chicken, some rice. That to me, I'm like, that's better than any night out I could ever have, and I honestly mean that. I've had some great nights out, mate, over the years. I really have, but that was a different me. That was a different life I was living. Now this is how I get my kicks, and it's so much more rewarding.
Yeah, that is amazing to hear. That transformation is just so, so brilliant. And what would you say to those people who are at a bit of a crossroads, and maybe they're in a similar position to you were, in those kind of mid 20s you were talking about, and they want to take some massive action on their dreams, their version of the boxing career, or the business or whatever. What would you say to those people who are, worried about taking that first step?
Um, I'd say to them, ask yourself, where do you want to be in 10 years' time? You know, 20 years' time. You have to look at yourself in the future. Always look, however many months, however many years down the line, and I say, well, this is where I want to be. How am I going to get there? So, you know, first of all, what is their dream? What is their aspiration? Do they want to compete in something, in CrossFit or cycling or whatever? Or have they, they've got this business plan, they've got the opportunity to take it forward, but they're a bit reluctant, for whatever reason. What what's the options if you don't? Then do you continue in the same job? And really you don't like it. It pays the bills, but you've got the chance of making more money at networking more. Just advancing your life more. If it's a sporting venture, you either just keep going in the gym and lifting the same weights, or doing CrossFit and not really excelling in it, or can you take it to the next level? Can you start competing? You know, that's what you have to look at, and you have to say, is it going to be worth it? If I use myself as an example, if I didn't turn professional, um, I would always be saying to myself, especially at that last fight, and people saying, "You've got to turn pro. You've got to give it a go." Because there was a point where I thought, well, should I? Should I do it? Am I too old? Um, have I passed that sort of cut-off point? But I would always look back and be like, I regret that. I really do regret that. I don't know how much it would eat me up because I've changed so much since becoming a professional boxer. Now I'm obsessed. I am absolutely obsessed with this sport, with the goals and dreams that I have. Becoming Commonwealth champion, um, and whatever else may lead to. But I would ask those people to you know weigh up how much it means to them. If someone could honestly sit there and say, "Well, actually, I'll honestly be happy for the rest of my life just if I
Yeah,
don't take this
yeah,
big step, and if I just continue on this path, I'll be happy with that." And I would honestly shake that person's hand and say, "If you honestly believe that, then you don't need anything else, do you? You really don't. Anything else in your life would just be a bonus." Again, we're all different. We all have different dreams and aspirations. But for the people who it really would change their life and their mentality, you know, you've got to sit down, look at both outcomes, and you just got to go for it. You really have to just go for it. Put all your eggs in one basket, that type of thing, and just give it absolutely everything. Because if it doesn't work, for whatever reason, if you get injured, or if the business venture doesn't plan out the way you wanted it, I'm sure you could always go back to what you were doing or something similar to what you were doing. But at least you've tried, at least you've given it a go. And then you can sit back in your armchair when you're an old man or old lady and you can say, I give it everything. I tried.
Wow. I love that. I've got tingles listening to you talk, Matt. And along that same kind of question, I guess, what is next for you in 2024 and beyond? You mentioned the Commonwealth. Yeah, what's next for you?
Yeah, so boxing wise, I'm boxing on the 18th of May up in Glasgow. Huge fight. It's a Commonwealth title eliminator. So I win that fight, I'm then in line to box for the Commonwealth title. There is a lot of politics in boxing, but fingers crossed, we will be boxing on a big show on TV, hopefully with a nice payday. It's more than I could have ever dreamed. I didn't think I was going to become a professional boxer. I didn't even think I was going to get into boxing, mate. Like in my early 20s, most of these boxers, these elite lads, who you see on the telly, these British champions, European champions, world champions, they've all had glittering amateur careers, and they started as schoolboys. You know, certainly like the foreign lads, the Mexicans, they come out the womb fighting, and they have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of fights just because they've got to get noticed by people in the West, the Americans and British promoters. So yeah, everything has been a bonus so far, but like the Commonwealth title, to even just to challenge for that, it would be beyond all my wildest dreams. And then who knows, we win that British title, the British title. I mean, because there's just so much talent in this country. There's so many amazing fighters in every different weight category. I don't think the casual fan actually quite understands how unbelievable it is for someone to get like the British title. Every boxer wants to win the British title. So yeah, to even just be mentioned in that sort of bracket, to be in the top 15, top 10 in Britain, which was where I am now, it's unbelievable. But yeah, we just got to keep pushing forward, giving it absolutely everything every single day, and as I've always taken, like from unlicensed days, one fight at a time. This is my world title fight. This next fight in Glasgow, because if I don't beat him again, I'll have found my level, and we'll probably reassess everything. But I'll beat this guy. When I beat this guy, I'll be boxing for the Commonwealth title.
Absolutely, it's so exciting, man. And you deserve it as well. I know how hard you work. I've seen it, and
Thank
yeah,
you, mate.
it's so deserved. And for those people who want to follow your journey, where's the best place for them to come and follow you? Like Instagram, is it Facebook, and what's your handles?
Yeah, Instagram, Matt McCallum, and then Facebook as well. But Instagram, I do everything on Instagram because that's the best way to sort of network essentially through professional boxing. I found all my all the guys who I've went down the country to spar, all the coaches I've spoken to, I find them through Instagram, and you obviously follow me on there. I keep my like my fight updates on there, my posts about when the next fight's going to be, etc. So yeah, find me on there.
Superb. Well, Matt, I think you deserve to go and have a meal, and you deserve to break your
I'm very
fast.
excited, mate. Do you think I should just go another day? Nah.
Oh, no, mate, Matt, it's been such a pleasure. I'm so grateful for your time, and this episode's going to help so much.
Thank you very much for having me on board, and it's amazing what you're doing. So please, yeah, keep doing what you're doing, keep reaching new heights all the time. You know.
I will do. And yeah, that brings us to the end of another episode of the Unstoppable Introvert Project. Thank you so much to Matt McCallum. Make sure you follow him. All of his handles will be in the show notes. And to everyone listening, thank you so much for tuning in. And remember, no matter how introverted you feel, that is the thing that is going to allow you to become your best self. Until next time, stay unstoppable.